If you're depressed and rich, watch this. I'm gonna show you the real form of wealth that most rich people are missing. In fact, there's 8 of them. There's 8 forms of wealth. And if you don't really pursue these 8, you're not gonna live a fulfilled life. And I have to say, I'm guilty of this too. I initially thought the way to being successful and happy was to go after money. And once I started making some money, I realized I was sacrificing time. So I wanted to have time. So money and time were my main North Stars. Then over time, I realized there's more to it than life. Success without fulfillment is failure. That's what Robbins says. But how do we get the fulfillment? No one shows us that part of it. And so I came up with a concept that I liked called the 5 freedoms. I was like, hey, maybe there's 5 things I'm really going after. What are they? Well, we want free time. I've talked about that. We want more money. But what else is there? Maybe physical vitality, maybe being able to work from anywhere in the world, geographic freedom. And then finally, having that bulletproof, resilient mindset. And at that point, I thought I had figured it out. This was the success formula. But I was wrong. I was missing some key components. And so I want to share with you my revised methodology for having what I call an infinite 8 mindset, the 8 forms of wealth. So number 1 is inner wealth. What this means to me is having a mindset resilience that's bulletproof. You also have self-mastery of yourself, your emotions, of who you are, what you're meant for. You have clarity on your goals, and you have equipoise. What that means is something happens in your life, you don't go to extremes. You're not extremely jubilant, and you're not in the dumpster, despair and depression. You have this even keel about you, and that's attractive to businesses, to partners, to customers, to clients, to family. They look at you as a leader. When I started my journey, my goal was coming from a middle-class family, not having much in terms of economic wealth. That was my dreams. I really wanted to have, luxury. I wanted to have wealth. I wanted to have options. I wanted to have freedom. I studied hard, got a good career, got a job. I was a cardiologist, and I was able to practice. I was fulfilling my calling, plus I was earning a reasonable income. And so I thought I had it all. But then what I realized is having enough and not having abundance are 2 different things. And so I had enough to live a reasonable life. But I'm like, I live on this earth once. I don't want a reasonable life. I want an extraordinary life. So then I set my standards higher. What that did was it created gaps in where I wanted to be and where I was. And so I worked hard. And so after I thought I hit the money goal, I wanted to have more free time. See, as a physician, you're really busy. You're on call once a week. Every 4th weekend, I had to give up my whole weekend, to go around in the hospital to go see patients. I would not see my family. And so I noticed that time was also as important as money to me. So I was really trying to figure out, how do I create more free time? And that's when I thought about, cash flow and businesses and entrepreneurship. So I started pursuing that. The 5 freedoms are really financial freedom, time freedom. And then I thought, hey, look, to be healthy and to be vital and to be fit would be very important. Vitality freedom became number 3. And then I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to be able to work from anywhere in the world, right? And this was even before the pandemic and, all that kind of stuff. So having the flexibility to have like an online business or having your business, run without you was one of the goals. And then finally, it was to have this resilient, bulletproof mindset that nothing can mess with you, a rock in the face of the storm. And this is because I've been through a lot of storms. I've been through where I potentially had millions of dollars at stake that could have been taken away from me, or potentially a patient outcome didn't go the way I wanted to. I've had, a key person quit and leave in one of my companies, and I had to figure out what to do next. Or interest rates went up crazy amounts in 1 year, and my whole business is dependent on investments in real estate and debt. And so these are some of the challenges I had to come and face and overcome. And as I was hitting these 5 freedoms, I still felt like there was something missing. And you may be wondering, hey, what is missing? Why would you even say that, right? If relationships are not taken care of, if you're not surrounded by people who keep up-leveling you, if you are not giving back to the world and to your friends and to your colleagues and your communities and trying to make a world a better place, I think you're not really figuring out true fulfillment. The thought process really is, it's not a destination I'm chasing, it's a way of life. It's a protocol that's more of an infinite game. I like to play the game for the sake of the game, not because I want to win, because there's no end game to this. As I've talked to the wealthiest people in the world, I've talked to the poorest people in the world, if I've talked to the people right in the middle, we all are chasing the same thing. We want to be happy. We want to be loved. We want to strive for greatness. We want to be fully spent when we end our days on earth. Number 2 is sort of physical wealth, right? It says health, but what we mean is vitality wealth. And so there's 3 main ways to know this. A lot of people throw generic stuff at this physical wealth. What I mean is very specific. I want an elite level of fitness. That means you're doing Spartan races, you're doing Tough Mudders. Maybe you're doing a half marathon, you're doing a triathlon. Maybe you're pushing the boundaries for your age of what's possible. I know of 99-year-olds who run marathons. That's absurd to me, but I've seen people do that. The second component of the highest level of vitality is labs. You need to go beyond the traditional medical landscape and explore this next level of labs where you look at detoxification, hormone optimization, inflammation, microbiome and gut, and anti-aging and longevity. And the last component of vital wealth is high energy lifestyle. When you enter a room, do you lift the energy of the room or do you bring it down? Have this charisma and energy that attracts people to you, or do you repel people? When you are at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, how do you feel? Do you have an 8 out of 10 energy still, or are you dragging? If you're able to master this, you will have vital wealth. All right, the next one is very important. And I didn't include this in my previous 5 freedoms. And I think that was a mistake. And that's why I'm correcting it with this 8 forms of wealth. It's relationship wealth. And let me break it down to you what I mean. It's gonna be your intimate relationship. So if you're married, dating, things like that, that relationship is very powerful and you must foster it. You must pour into it. You must water and garden that relationship. Next is your parents, your siblings. If you have kids, your children. That's family and kids. And the third part is your social network. This is your colleagues, your friends, people who you interact with, acquaintances. By you having all 3 of these, you will have a strong relationship wealth. And number 4 is career wealth. Your career is your craft. It's your calling, and you should learn to master it. Even if you're doing things on the side, if you're having side hustles or businesses, that's fine. But your main career, what you're put on this earth to do, or what you're currently doing, it may not be your final destination, but it's your current destination. You must be good at it. And look, you have Michael Jordan, who eventually retired from being a basketball player, but while he was a basketball player, he was the best and he retired on top. We have Jerry Seinfeld, right? Amazing comedian, amazing stand-up comedian. He also did TV shows, he did a lot of things. He left the show Seinfeld on top. When I was a cardiologist, loving what I was doing, but I had interest in dreams and visions to do something beyond that. But while I was practicing, I gave it everything I had, 120%. And in fact, they wanted me to stay. They wanted me to become president of the group. They wanted me to be part of the organization. And I respectfully, appreciated all those accolades, but I ended up deciding to move on and do other things. But the respect and the admiration was there. These are what I call the foundational wealth. If you have these 4, you will live a phenomenal life. But if you want to become legendary, if you want to become iconic, if you want to become one of the few, then you need to go after this next level of wealth. So number 5 is economic wealth. This is where you focus on 3 main things. Number 1 is cash flow. Number 2 is net worth. And finally, number 3 is lifestyle. You want to have the lifestyle of what you want. It's not just about the numbers in the bank. You're not going to feel that. What you will feel is a lifestyle, the car you drive, the vacations you take, the kind of wine and champagne you drink, whatever that is for you. I don't know what your story is, but I need to know what your lifestyle goals are. Like, how many days a week do you want to work? Do you want to sleep in 4 days of the week? All of that is super important. So by you focusing on net worth, cash flow, and lifestyle, and starting to build your business around your life versus the life around your business, you will feel so much contentment, fulfillment, happiness, and joy. We're getting into the home stretch here, guys. This is awesome. The next one I call is adventure wealth. Adventure wealth to me means a couple of three main things. It's acquiring interesting and useful skills, skill acquisition. And what I mean by that is like learning a new language. If you want to speak Spanish, if you want to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you want to get to meditate and you're not really good at meditating yet, these are useful skills that not only improve your life, but they're a joy to pursue on their own. Next is hobbies, right? If you like to start writing novels, if you want to do screenplays, if you want to, coach your kids' basketball team, whatever that is to you, hobbies are very important. And the final one that I want to talk about, which is adventure wealth, is taking interesting trips, going on interesting challenges, mental challenges, physical challenges. 75 Hard is an example of adventure wealth. Doing something called Everesting, which is where you climb 20,000 feet up and down on a hill in a group setting, is an example of a physical and mental challenge. Doing a Spartan race, going and doing a medical mission. These are all examples of adventure wealth. And the next one is genius wealth. What do I mean by that? This means who you are is who you're surrounded with, right? So if you surround yourself with people who have high standards, who are interesting, who are eclectic, who pour into you, who mentor you, who challenge you, who coach you, these people are geniuses. They're titans. They are next level thinkers. It gives you so much joy. Perhaps you can do a supper club. What I mean by that, like maybe once a month, you invite interesting people to come and sit at the table, you break bread with them, and you have interesting conversations over wine. And you're talking about politics, you're talking about quantum physics, you're talking about sports, you're talking about, poetry and how to solve world challenges. This is amazing kind of content for your brain to process, and gives you novelty, it gives you joy, and gives you intrigue and introspection. And the final one, guys, as you can guess, it's going to be impact wealth. And there's three main subsections of this. It's service. I don't care how much money you make, until you take a ladle of soup and you pour it into a poor person's bowl. That gives you much more joy than writing a $10,000 check. Number two is philanthropy, right? Having an organized way to give some of your money that you've earned back to people. The founder of Patagonia says, hey, the more I earn, the more I get to give. And then finally, it's legacy. How will you be remembered in 200 years? Some people think legacy is unimportant. Guys, here's a quote that will help you really lock in the power of impact wealth. Guys, live your life in such a way so when you're born, you're crying, but the world is rejoicing. But with all your deeds and all your attributes and accolades and whatever you've done to help humanity, so when you die, you rejoice while the world cries. If you've achieved some sort of economic success, you have, 6 figures, 7 figures, even 8 figures just in the bank, and you feel very proud, but you still feel empty and hollow inside. Start incorporating these different levels of wealth into your daily pursuits and notice how you feel. For those of you who have mastered economic wealth, guys, that's 12.5% of the equation. So score yourself. How are you on your inner wealth? On a scale of 1 to 10. How are you on your physical wealth? How are you on your relationship wealth, career wealth, economic, adventure, genius, and impact, right? Score yourself. And if there's areas where you're really low, that's probably where I would focus my energies. Money is essentially stored energy. But the problem why you're not feeling the joy you want is because it hasn't served others. It's time to deploy that into all these categories where you feel fulfilled, you're helping others along the way, and you're elevating the overall vibration and frequency of how you're showing up. And I think this will get you out of the depression and into happiness. This is my 8 forms of wealth. I hope that helps you. This is what I'm striving for. And I think it's a valid thing to help play the infinite game. And let me know if this hits home. Put it in the comments below.